Welcome, guys, to the Open Road Podcast. It's been a project of mine that I've been wanting to do for such a long time. I got two special guests. Well, one's a co-host. I race on Crooked Line Racing. I'm also an admin for the Dirt Street Stocks. Uh, yeah, so Tanner, take it away.
Hey, hello, welcome everybody to Open Road. My name is Tanner Marr. I'm gonna be returning just about every week. There might be some weeks where I'm not making it, but for the most part, I'll be here. You'll be getting to know my voice hopefully pretty soon. I race in Crooked Line Racing. I do the super late models and SK modifieds and the late model stocks. I dabble in the dirt street stocks with Ryan from week to week, just depending on how it goes. I'm also a co-founder of Five Kings Motorsports, and we're there's about six of us over there. We started out with five, hence the name Five Kings, and then it morphed into something bigger. But that's neither here nor there. This whole podcasting journey, this is brand new to me. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but never actually been and done one myself. So I will say from the get go, it will never be this bad again. So that's something you got to look forward to.
Right on, Tanner. So our first guest today is Joshua Sexton. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Um, So the first question I gotta ask is, who are you? What's your main job in real life, and what do you do in Crooked Line Racing?
Real job is a behavioral safety facilitator for a chemical company called BASF. Sounds very distinguished. It's really not. It's just a safety guy. And in Crooked, I am the main racing admin for Crooked Line Racing, and been doing it for about 2 seasons now.
Right
So
on.
when you say behavior specialist, safety, you're the guy that goes around and makes sure people don't get hurt, stuff like that, correct?
I'm the guy who goes around, pisses people off, makes them do more work in order to stay safe. Yes, that's me.
So for clarity reasons, are you the guy that when somebody's on their phone at their workstation, do they hide their phone when they come up, or are you the cool boss?
Well, I'm not a boss, but they do hide their phone, yes.
Right on. I was always wondering that. For the short time I've known you now, Josh was like, I mean, I know what you do for hobbies and stuff, but I'm like, oh, he never really said what he did for work, so that's quite interesting.
Behavior specialist. All right, Josh, I want to ask you something. Uh, I know you just because I've raced with you a lot. You're also on Five Kings Motorsports. Uh, how did you get into real life racing? Like, what do you let the viewers know? What do you run in real life, and where do you race at? And what are your plans for 2021 if everything's allowed to go back?
Yeah, we got into racing. My dad got me into racing. He was always on quite a few different teams as a crew member, and I've always loved racing ever since I was a kid. And recently, in the past few years, my dad got into owning some asphalt sprint cars. So I'm lucky. My dad jumped into them and offered me a ride. So that's what we've been doing in the past couple of years. And hopefully, if everything goes well this year, this will be our third full year in a asphalt sprint car. So hopefully, we get some wins. As of yet, I have not won a race. So
Right on. So you're still chasing that first win in real life. I get it. And I heard you say asphalt sprints. So as you may know, I'm in the South, so that's not a big division down here. What uh what pulled y'all to the sprint car side of things? More importantly, what pulled y'all to sprint car for asphalt racing?
well, we've always been asphalt racing is pretty big up north here in Ohio, and open wheel is pretty big up here too. So we've always been a huge fan of open wheels, things like super modifieds, sprint cars on asphalt. So it was always our dream that's what we wanted to race. and it also it kind of a economic thing. Our series that we run, it has crate engine sprint cars. It's one of a very few in the country, so it was kind of a no-brainer to jump in as a starter series, so to speak, on the economic front.
All right, now you say crate engine. I know that means everybody's running pretty much the same spec engine, correct?
Yeah, in this series, they're all running the Chevy 602 crate engine.
Okay, I got you. And now
Nice.
transferring over to the sim racing side, did you begin sim racing before you started actually real life racing, or how'd that go for you?
I guess it depends on what you consider sim racing. I mean, I raced quite a bit when I was young on computers. Didn't do it very much, but I've always done a lot of sim on Xbox and different things like that. So I've been doing that for my whole life. But in reality, as far as iRacing, I never touched iRacing until about August of last year.
Wow.
All right, one more little input, and then I'll send it back over to Ryan. Uh, how do you compare? I know I race with you every night on here on iRacing, so I know we don't dabble in the asphalt sprints much on iRacing. But from racing in real life in general to iRacing, how do you think iRacing fares compared to real life racing?
I think it is. I mean, it's close as you can get. I think it's pretty real as far as the driving is concerned, or the thought behind driving. I guess if you have like a full motion system, it would probably be a lot more real. I don't have a full motion system, but um, it's definitely, real life is much different, just being there, but considering, it's as close as it can get.
And just saying, like, I'm fairly new to racing in general. Like, I mean, I was around racing a little bit, growing up watching movies and watching racing on TV, but going into actual, looking into it further with iRacing, I didn't even know they even had sprints for asphalt. So when I first saw your sprint car, I'm like, oh, cool, you do dirt, and then you're like, no, asphalt. I'm like, oh, okay. I had no idea they even did that, but that's pretty cool though.
See, I'm basically the same way. I before me and Josh became basically best friends over the internet, it was I would see his post and see Team 151 on Facebook, cheap plug for them. Would see them on Facebook and I would see their pictures, and I always wondered. I was like, well, I met him on the asphalt side, but he does dirt in real life. And then getting to know him and talk to him, realized that there is a thing called asphalt sprints, and you can watch some videos on YouTube, and man, it's honestly it's a wild show. And I heard him mention the super modifieds. That is a completely entirely different beast. I've never seen a car. It's a specially built race car. I mean, that's just the best way I can explain it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that the super modified would be my ultimate goal in life. If I ever get to drive a super modified, at least race it one time, then I could officially die happy. I will tell you that.
Yeah, right on.
Right on. Um, so I, I want to ask something like, not thinking COVID. Just forget about COVID. What would be the biggest challenge in racing right now, far as being at the track? Like, what do you think that some trackways, speedways should do to make it easier for drivers?
Money.
Yeah, obviously, biggest challenge would be uh, money. I get that, but I look at it more as the biggest challenges, especially to tracks and then different series, is gaining young talent or drivers. Right now, it appears as though a lot of the younger generation in this country doesn't really pay too much attention to racing. They're all, I don't know, consumed with football and basketball, so to speak. So I think the biggest challenge today is the future. of auto racing, across all fronts, and that is getting more interaction from the young people and, of course, their parents, and spending money and getting them into racing as well.
And that's the thing, like racing is it's not a cheap man sport. That's for sure. It's you got to have a little bit of money there to get started. I mean, I looked in the price and what how much it would cost to do a super late model, and I mean, it's kind of crazy, you know. I mean, I can only imagine, you know, you guys are doing a smaller scale, but still it costs quite a bit of money. And like you said, for see younger people of these tracks racing or being part of a crew, 9 chance out of 10, they're only doing it because their father was in it prior for the last 20 years. You very seldom see someone brand new, no experience, no family coming out.
You're absolutely right. I go down, so my home track, as y'all know, is Nashville Fairground Speedway. It's a historic track. We finally got it on iRacing, and we have a few what they call young guns down there, but a majority of the field, you're looking at guys in their 40s and 50s, and every one of us, we all have an expiration date. So, what's the future going to look like down the road for racing? I don't know the answer. None of us know the answer really, but I do agree that you're not seeing the newer generations get gravitated towards racing the way we was when we were younger, and it shows. And as far as look at NASCAR's ratings, look at F1's ratings, just from TV broadcasts, everything's plummeting because the new generation they're not into it. And then on top of what I said when the question was asked, just throw it out there, money. I mean, I grew up around my dad racing, and he drove in a series that the first series he raced in was called Street Modified, and you basically could run whatever you wanted. There was the number one rule was there wasn't no rules, basically. So you would have the guys that would spend thousands upon thousands, and then you'd have the mom and pop type racers that built their car in their garage. And my dad's philosophy every week was I just wanted to make enough money to be able to come back to the track next week, meaning to cover the fuel and whatnot. Because you look into it, racing fuel and stuff's not cheap. And then you
Oh
got to
no.
change. You're changing oil every single week and stuff like that. It is. It's a expensive hobby. A few people make it to the top level of racing, but 99.9% of the people are just like me and you and Josh. We go to work 9 to 5, and if they're blessed enough to be able to race, that's awesome. And I hope the young generation, I hope they come back to it or they come to it and gravitate to it because the future is what's important in racing right now.
I agree with you, everything you said, Tanner, except for one thing. Um, One thing that NASCAR isn't doing, what F1 is doing, F1 is really pushing social media. I mean, NASCAR always does. They always show the fits, the fights, and the outbreaks and all that stuff. But F1 has been killing it when it comes to promoting everything on the off season, on the new season. I don't follow F1 myself. I've been hearing a lot about F1 racing through other podcasts lately, and they're saying like they're just killing it. You got all these big drivers. You know, when COVID hit, everything was shut down for for month or two before they could figure out how to get back on track. These guys were actually the iRacing, and I mean they blew up on Twitch. They blew up on YouTube. I mean, and F1 took that advantage and they kept pushing it. I feel like NASCAR, if they're gonna keep going the way they're going, they gotta change something. Something's gotta they gotta be more. I don't know. They gotta change something because what they're doing now is just not working
You're exactly right. And you think about F1, that is a worldwide motorsport.
worldwide.
I mean, it goes, it's a traveling circus from continent to continent every single week. NASCAR is, it's big in the southeastern portion of the United States. Now, it's big in all United States. NASCAR is the number one motorsport in the United States of America. I mean,
Yep.
it's just all the stats say that. But outside of America, it gets no bigger than F1. At F1, they know what they're doing as in terms of social media. Not everybody likes social media. I'll be honest, I don't like social media. But for them big companies like that, social media, you can put a 30 character statement out and have it seen by millions of people in a matter of a click. And I mean that's something NASCAR's got to get better at. I agree with you completely.
Yep. And then you got to think the contracts alone. I mean, NASCAR contracts look like pocket change. I mean, with F1 because I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Absolutely. But getting back on track here, Josh. If you could, if money wasn't like a problem, if sponsorship wasn't a problem, if you could go and run one series for the rest of your life, and you do it every week or bi-weekly, whatever, one series for the rest of your life, what series would that be in real life?
Oh yeah, it go right back to Super Modified Series. The International Super Modified Association, ISMA, they're the currently the biggest series in America for super modifieds. It's always been my goal to if I won the lottery, I'd have like a 4-car team, and that's all I would do is just 4
Yes,
brand new
sir.
super modifieds racing as much as I can.
Now, is that do they travel across the United States, or are they pretty much like northeast, or what are they?
They're really big. It's New England area. They're pretty big up there and in the Northwest. So those are your two main areas for the Eastern super modifieds. They do have some Western super modifieds. They look a little bit different. They're kind of closer to an older style Indy car, but they have struggled really, really bad out west, and there's not very many of them anymore. But right now in the Northwest and in the New England area, the super modifieds are still pretty big.
I got you. I know. Talking to you and your dad, Steve, about the super modifieds, it intrigued me. So I did what everybody does. I get my phone and I Google super modifieds, and before I knew it, I was sitting there for an hour, hour and a half, watching a documentary and then watching races featuring the super modifieds, and they're something like I've never seen before. They put the motor to the left of the driver. Driver can basically reach out and touch it, and then all that is for weight, and it is just a completely prototype race car. I mean, that's just what it is.
Yeah, and it's funny if you kind of look back at the history of open wheel racing. When you look at the history of open wheel racing, the sprint car was basic. It was kind of like the first open wheel car that there was, and over the years, there's been several different ways that these open wheel cars have split, and some of them have went towards obviously like your Indy car style open wheel, and then your super modified split their own way in their design. Um, and then of course the sprint cars all kind of have stayed basically the same for many, many years.
Well, no. So next question I gotta ask. I mean, obviously, everyone's had a fast speed they ever been. What's the fastest speed you ever been that you felt shit? I'm in trouble right now because you're not gonna make the turn or something. What's the fastest speed you ever been at, Josh?
Well, uh, I don't have a speedometer. We don't have speedometers in our
Oh, okay.
sprint car, but I can tell you that I also again you also have to remember I drive a crate sprint car, so I only have 400 horsepower in my sprint car. That's the
Okay.
fastest car that I've gone in. But you can I would say we went to a track called Jennerstown, Pennsylvania, a couple times. It's a big half mile with quite a bit of banking on there, and we in a crate car we didn't have to let off at all. We were just full speed all the way around, and I pretty sure we're getting up to like 115 mile an hour down the straightaway. But
Yes,
I think the
sir.
bigger
Yikes!
the bigger thing, so it's, that's fast, but it's not that fast. But the biggest thing is you never let off either. So
Yeah.
essentially, I say the bigger thing is going through a corner at 100 mile an hour. Now that's where it wants to, that's real speed. You can go straight down the track at 300 mile an hour, no big deal. Well, it
Wow.
is a big deal, but
Well, I was gonna
you
say,
know,
yeah, I'd have to argue that's a very big deal, but
yeah,
I
but
understand the G
right.
forces you're talking about.
Right, going through a turn at 100 mile an hour or more. Now that's where it really gets you.
Yeah.
So, to sidebar from that question, what's the fastest you ever went in real life in a street vehicle? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, I do. 120. That was when I was a kid.
Okay,
Uh,
so story time. I'm 131, and I spent a night in jail because of it,
Yes,
and
sir.
got motorcycle impounded because of it. But we're still here to talk about it. And after 3 kids, motorcycle's long gone.
Would have to be, I think, by now.
Yep.
I don't want to say how fast I went. I mean, I probably got family gonna watch this, so.
Oh,
Oh,
just say it.
well, I mean, this is in kilometers, so I bought when I bought my new car. It was a 2015 Ford Focus hatchback at the 5-speed, 2 liter. I think it was like 193 horsepower. I mean, it's just stock car, right? It was nice. It's nice looking hatchback. I got it, and I'm like, you know what? I gotta try this out. I gotta see how fast it's gonna go. So there's a long stretch here. I hit it. I did 100. I think it was 181 kilometers an hour. And once I hit that mark, she wasn't going any faster, and I stopped it right then. I was like, yep, nope, I'm all done. I did it once. When you see the rear, when you see the mirror just vibrate and stuff, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm done.
See, on a motorcycle, you're thinking 2 wheels, 131. It's a crotch rocket, and it's still pulling. I mean, it's still wanting to go faster.
Yeah,
And you think the faster you go, the smoother ride it would be. No, not
no.
true. It was it was very, very scary. So we passed a state trooper going about 90, a group of us, right? So us being dumb teenagers, we thought, we can run from them. There's 20 of us, so he can't catch all of us. Wrong, he can. So don't be young and dumb because there's way more of them than there's you. I promise you. And it's not worth your life. It ain't worth anybody else's life. Dumbest thing I've ever done by far.
It's crazy today. There's no way getting away with things today.
Absolutely not.
My
Uh,
my my dad,
Go ahead.
he back in the day. This is way before I came in the picture. My brother was a teenager at the time. Uh, in Canada, before points was an issue for licenses, you get a speeding ticket, you just pay the fine, right? So I mean, it'd be nothing for my dad to get a bunch of speeding tickets throughout the week, and I'll just go pay for it. And then it was one night, he left from one town, went to another town within a half an hour, got pulled over 4 times, and got a ticket 4 times, and they all said on the radio.
Jeez.
There was back when it was highway patrol, right? They were like, no, Stuart's coming up the road. Stuart's coming up the road. Watch it, watch it. And sure enough, I got him every time. And it's my dad was quite the little racer back in the day. I mean, working on the farm and stuff, him and his brothers used to race all the time on potato trucks and little muscle cars used to get when they're getting their 20s and little hell raisers, but it
You
kind of runs
can't
in the
you,
family.
you can't beat them cars, man. I mean, you cannot beat them.
No, no, for sure.
All right, back on topic, Josh. I'm gonna skip around right here just a little bit, but I see this question. This has been something, a little peek behind the curtain. This is something me and you have been talking about a lot lately. But knowing what you know right now, if James was to come up and say, "Josh, do you want to be the lead race admin?" What would you say this day right now?
no, I would not.
Elaborate. Elaborate. Just why not?
You might have to
You,
now.
so you know what it reminds me of? It's very tough to deal with a lot of different people and there's a lot of drama, and it actually reminds me in real life. I've known quite a few race directors, and and I'm still young into racing. They don't hardly know me at all, but yet when I talk to them, I'm like, man, I walk away and I go, that guy's a real asshole. you
Right.
know. And I'm thinking, I don't even know you. Why are you being so mean to me from the start, you know? And I kind of after a while figured it out, you know, because this guy, he's dealt with so much crap over the years that what he does is he just comes out and he outwardly portrays, I'm not the guy to be messed with. So that's kind of the personality that he, you know, that race director has developed over the years in dealing with a lot of stuff from a lot of different people, and generally not being able to win in any decision that you make. So I fully understand some of those race directors now.
So to add on what Josh is saying, across Crooked Line Racing, it's a huge community, right? So we have over 300 plus members throughout all the sims and all the quote unquote games. Okay. On the racing side of it, that's where me, Josh, and Ryan are admins. It goes Josh, me, then Ryan. Josh does the super late models. I do the SK modifieds. Me and Josh do the late model stocks on Wednesday. And then we introduced a new dirt series this year, and that's headed up by Ryan. So Ryan hasn't experienced all the headaches yet. They're to come. But when you have 170 people to make happy, you can't do it. And it's just me and Josh. So after every single race, it never fails. I get a message, or Josh gets a message. And if it's just one message, that's great. I mean, that's easily solved. But it very, very seldom ever is. Being an admin, it's great. I mean, I love getting on here and knowing that I make a difference on racing and crooked line. I don't like it because I feel like I'm the police. That's not why I like it. I like being able to know I'm giving a lot of effort in to allowing 170 plus people to get on here and forget about COVID, forget about real life, forget about all that for about an hour, hour and a half. What most people and drivers in this series don't understand, it's so time consuming. I mean, I have a fiance and 3 kids, and I'm in here every night taking care of something, and Josh is too, Ryan as well. So it's very, very taxing, but it's rewarding too. It's just you about like with anything in life, it comes to with a price. So if James was to say, Tanner, would you like to be admin today? I don't know what I would answer. I couldn't tell you because I like it and then I don't like it. Ryan,
You'll
you can elaborate also.
you would say yes, Tanner. I know you. You're a giver. For me, I mean, I'm just getting into this. I clearly agree with Josh and Tanner with the whole situations. I've been lucky enough not to have a certain situation come up with dirt yet. Knock on wood. I know it's gonna come eventually. It just will. But I was happy. I'm the one. I came to James first because I was gonna do this dirt series on my own, and I was like, you know what? Like, I don't want an easy way in, but I kind of want my foot in the door a little bit because he told me he says, I got a few guys on here that runs dirt. They may be able to go with dirt, with you for a couple weeks. And I went over and made some promo, and James approved it. Sure, plaster it up there, and then I really felt it felt awesome to have a community just come in. I mean, we had 15 drivers in the first night of the series. I was just super happy about it. I mean, we're really building something bigger than I think a lot of us can even imagine. It's just a matter of
Exactly.
time.
Exactly. And see, that's why I would say yes to James more than likely because I ran this when it was just a Wednesday night race, and we started 6 of us.
Yeah.
And I've been here not since day one, but about day three, just about. I mean, I've been here for a long, long time, and it just disclaimer, it's not necessarily the driver's fault of why being an admin's taxing. Do they add to it sometimes? Of course they do. I mean, they know they do, but I could handle stuff better myself, just like Josh. I'm sure he could say the same. Just like a peek behind the curtain. Last Monday, I think it was last Monday night, we had an iRacing glitch. It put somebody ahead that very clearly on everybody else's screen they shouldn't have won. So what we have to do? We stayed up, we voted on it, we went to bed, slept on it, came back the next day, voted on it again, and we had to overturn the victory. That's a hard call to make. I would much rather just race that Monday night, went to bed, woke up Tuesday, racing the SK series, and went on about my business, But I couldn't. And overturning that call has been the single hardest thing I've had to experience on the admin side of things. Josh, you agree or disagree? How you feel?
Yeah, oh, I agree wholeheartedly. It was very tough. Um, but we made the decision that, we needed to, we had to, and I'd make it again tomorrow. Again, no, I think, you're going back to the being an admin and stuff like that. It takes a certain personality to be able to deal with a lot of different people and a lot of different situations and understand how to do it um, without, causing any arguments and stuff like that. So
Yes,
I
sir.
think sometimes, that's tough to do. So that's something to think about if you wanted to be an admin. It's greatly rewarding, but at the same time, you're going to have to deal with quite a few things that are pretty tough to deal with.
So I kind of look at it like a teeter totter effect. No matter what, you're going to have somebody mad at you and you're going to have somebody happy at you. You want to work your best to make the majority happy at you and the minority mad at you, meaning the less people you got mad at you and the more people happy, you're golden because you're never going to make everybody happy. I
No,
mean,
never,
it's
never.
not possible.
I had so many people message me and okay, can we do this next for dirt? Can we do this next for dirt? And I'm like, James taught me one thing is let's do something, let's make it great, and then we'll move on to something next, make that great as
Yes,
well.
sir. Yes, sir.
And I just I mean, with no spoilers, because I mean we're not even 100% sure what this year is gonna bring for us. Something will happen this year, but all I can say is it won't be dirt. Anything more, it's gonna just stay with streak stocks. I kind of just want to sidetrack onto another question here. I want to ask Josh. We're went past the 30 minute mark now. We're at 32 minutes. I know these guys got to go for a race here soon. I got to ask one question, and I kind of feel like I'm grilling Josh here. But are you cricket for life, or would you go out and start your own league? Because I mean, you guys have one hell of a race team, and it's kind of a burning question in the back of my mind. Is like, all right, when are these guys going to be, too big to step up?
No, I have never really even thought about starting my own league, to be honest with you. I like the layout and the format so far, and I have no plans. I have no plans on going anywhere anytime soon. That's for sure.
Not trying to put an idea in your head or anything, just burning question in the back of my head. So,
No, no, for me myself, I would think that, um, I don't really. I mean, I guess if you can get a lot of sponsorship or something like that to start out with, then I would think about that. But I really don't. I'm not really big into creating a new league. I like the fact that all this stuff, that everything was here, and that I get to just kind of like run it and make it better, so to speak.
yeah, like mom and dad bought all the toys. Now you just gotta choose, what to do.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
if that question was asked to me, I would say the only way I'm starting my own series is under Crooked Line. I mean, like I said, I'll reiterate it. Started when it was just a Wednesday night league. We're up to four. Don't blink because you might miss it. There's probably a fifth one coming pretty soon. That's all I'll say. Uh, it's best to never say never. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I know we're running low on time. We got to some questions. The biggest question I wanted to ask you, Josh, out of all the tracks you've ever raced at in sim racing, in real life racing, watched on TV, if you had to pinpoint one track, what's your favorite track?
That was an easy one. Anderson Speedway, Anderson, Indiana. It's a little quarter mile high bank track. They run the little 500 on it every year.
Yes.
I have had the pleasure of racing there one time, and it was unreal how great it was. Don't ask about feature because I got destroyed in that by somebody who I will not call his name out, but
He
yeah,
knows who he is. If he
he
ever
knows who
hears
he
this,
is.
he knows who he is.
He knows who he is.
So
Yeah,
I
Anderson, Indiana.
I've seen that track on YouTube because I heard you and Steve mention it. What do you think the chances are it ever gets scanned and brought to iRacing?
Well, I I don't know, probably minimal, I would say. Now, be one of the reasons why I would say that is because it's huge for open wheel racing. And if you look at iRacing, as far as their open wheel side of it, sprint cars, especially the asphalt side, is there's not a lot of participation there. So I would think that in order for a track to be scanned, is yes, they do run the little 500 every year, and it's a huge race, but I just don't see that being pivotal enough to get that recognized to be brought to um, iRacing. I will say that they do race a big race, a 400 lap. I think they call it the Red Bud 400, which is a super late model race
That's
400.
the race I watched.
Yeah, so they do race that every year. So it's good. It's a good start that they do race big late model races there. I think that that's one thing that they would have going for them. I would love to see it. It would be the greatest thing ever to see that track on there on iRacing.
Ryan, what to peel back the curtain, you're from Canada. I'm not too familiar with Canadian tracks. What's your favorite track?
Oh man, as far as it goes, Canadian tracks, I haven't. I think I was at one once when I was little. I mean, I just haven't traveled much, and especially with COVID now, I do have it on the wish list. There's a town 2 hours from where I live. It's called the capital. It's the capital of our province,
Uh huh.
Fredericton. There is a racetrack there. It's kind of like the Super Late Model Series, but we call it differently in Canada. I can't even remember the name of it, but I think it's like the Pro Series or something.
Yep. Yep.
I do have it on the wish list. I'm planning on taking my boy when he's like 4 years old. You know,
There we go. We hit on the
yeah,
future.
that
Got to take it
that's
to the future.
that's what I'm planning on doing. Because I mean,
Absolutely.
uh, so we right before we end this podcast, I just gotta say a couple things. First and foremost, Josh, thank you so much for being the first guest on the podcast, and I want to say a big shout out to Tanner. You know, thank you for being my co-host. I appreciate it very much. You guys, kind of open your arms up and welcome me into the crooked admin. No, no questions asked, and you treat me nothing but the best. I just want to say a big thank you. Um,
Absolutely,
also,
buddy.
I want to do a big shout out to my race team, Bolsters Motorsports. You can check us out on Facebook. We have a page there where we do all the highlights and videos of each week of all the series we run under Crooked Line Racing. I want to big shout out to Butch Baker, running the 97. Got Mark Young running the 55. Got Brian Pike running the 99. And staff members, Caroline Boucher, thank you so much for everything you do for me. I mean, appreciate it very much. And Mark Farrell, thank you so much for hanging out in the Discord. That's pretty much it. So we're gonna get this podcast on Spotify one way or another. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next week.
We out.